This is a special report from About Space Today.
Welcome to Special Report. I'm David Denault. During the final news briefing on the return of Boeing Starliner spacecraft, Steve Stitch, the program manager for NASA's commercial crew, gave reasons why the decision was made to return the spacecraft without the crew.
Along the lines of uncrewed versus crewed.
Oh, uncrewed versus crewed. It was a tough decision to make. There really is. It was really hard to determine whether to be uncrewed or not. I would say the teams were very split in the uncertainty relative to the thrusters, and so the NASA team chose to return Butch and Suni on Dragon.
We'll go to our next question from David Denault with About Space Today.
My question is for Steve. At our last briefing and what you've just said about the meeting between Boeing and NASA, and after the briefing, several people have come forward and said it was kind of a very heated meeting, almost a shouting match, and Boeing's assistance is saying their spacecraft is safe for astronauts. Could you comment on that and kind of bring this to an end?
Yeah, I would say the last meeting we had where we talked detailed technical data on the different positions and the different analyses, I would not characterize it as heated. I would say anytime you're in a meeting of this magnitude where there's this kind of decision, there is some tension in the room. Boeing believed in the model that they had created that tried to predict thruster degradation for the rest of the flight. I would say the NASA team looked at the model and saw some limitations, and it really had to do with, do we have confidence in the thrusters and how much we could predict their degradation from undock through the deorbit burn? And the NASA team, due to the uncertainty in the modeling, could not get comfortable with that. And so I wouldn't say it was a yelling, screaming kind of meeting. It was a tense technical discussion where we had both sides listening intently to all the data, and in the end, to make a decision whether to return crewed or uncrewed. And NASA chose to allow Butch and Suni to stay on station, return on Crew 9, and we'll bring the vehicle back uncrewed on Friday.
I think I would just like to add one thing to that. From a Boeing standpoint, they certainly know their spacecraft, and they're analyzing risks and what they think the capability is with the Starliner vehicle. But Boeing is not in a position, and it would be unfair of them to ask or weigh into a risk versus risk trade for the scenario that NASA was weighing, which was bringing them home in the Starliner crewed or coming up with an alternate plan using Crew 9 and having them be part of the expedition. And so I think you also have to recognize that the agency is in a bit of a different position in terms of our understanding about the risks and what's available to us without Starliner. So that's also a reason for a difference in the opinions. And Boeing even stated that as part of the review last week, acknowledging that part is really in NASA's hands in terms of making that trade. They can't weigh in on that part of the trade for the agency.
And because of the extended mission, the question of support for the families of the stranded astronauts came up.
Gina Sinceri, ABC News. I think this is for Dana. You've had really many long-duration missions. Scott Kelly, Mark, Peggy, a number of people, Christina. How do you, as an agency, support those astronauts' families on the ground for these long-duration missions? You've got a good program here.
We are very fortunate that we've got a great network of support for our crew members. Their families are very actively engaged in the mission. They follow along with the mission, whether it's coming to watch dynamic activities like a docking, undocking. They'll come and join us.
Yeah, possibly.
In the viewing room, in mission control. But I think some of the really important touch points, in addition to the crews having, as you know, they've got phones that they can use to call down and talk to their family. But we have so much experience with previous crew members who have flown. We have a really good support network, both in the crew office and in the operations area, supporting our crew. And we also have other behavioral health and other great support assets, both for our crew on board and for all of the family members. So pretty big support network. They're part of the NASA family.
and continue to follow About Space for the touchdown of Starliner. And if you enjoy listening, don't forget to click like and subscribe. I'm David Denault.
This has been a special report from About Space Today.